Hello, and welcome to another Algebra 1 lesson. This is lesson 8.1. Our objective, graph quadratic functions of the form f of x equals ax squared plus c. When c is greater than 0, the graph has a vertical translation, c units up, of the graph of ax squared. When c is less than 0, it's a vertical translation, c units down from the graph of ax squared. So when c is positive, it's going to shift up. When c is negative, it's going to shift down. And that is called a vertical translation. A translation is a slide. It's like you take the graph, it's the exact same shape, but you're just sliding it down or up for a vertical translation. Example 1, graph g of x. Compare the graph to the graph of f of x. G of x is x squared minus 2. F of x is x squared. This x squared is the parent function of quadratic functions. It has the vertex at 0, 0. It is your typical parabola. It is the parent function. So when we change that and we subtract 2, it makes everything shift down 2. That is called a vertical translation, 2 units down. When they say the word compare, they are wanting you to state what are the transformations. Transformations are all of the different types. Translations, stretches, shrinks, all of those are types of transformations. So this graph shifts down 2 units. That means that our vertex is at 0, c, because it went down or up c units from 0, 0. So our vertex now is at 0, negative 2. And axis of symmetry still in the middle. To make a graph, the main way we're going to do it is we're going to make a table. Pick lots of x's, put them into your equation one at a time, and find what y values you get. So you put in negative 2. Remember, order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, parentheses, then exponents, then multiplication and division together from left to right, add and subtract together from left to right. So in this case, we have exponents and subtractions. So we have to do exponents before we do the subtraction. So negative 2. When we square it, we get positive 4, and 4 minus 2 is 2. Do it again with the negative 1. Negative 1 squared is 1. Minus 2 is negative 1. Now the 0. 0 squared, minus 2. Now the 1. 1 squared, minus 2. And 2 squared, minus 2. Put your points on your graph and connect it. Notice this vertex is now at 0, negative 2. And that's example 1. Let's give these a try. Compare the graph to the graph of f of x equals x squared. So minus 5, x squared minus 5. That's going to be a vertical translation, 5 units. Which direction? 5 units down. So it's going to shift down 5, or you can say vertical translation, 5 units down. This big idea is they're going to sometimes have you pick that vertical translation. Eventually, we'll also have horizontal translations. X squared plus 3. Which way is it going to shift 3? Minus 5 went down, so plus 3 is going to go up. Vertical translation, 3 units up, or it shifts up 3. A shift is a translation. So translation and shift, those two words are fairly interchangeable in this context. Example 2. Y equals ax squared plus c. The multiplying by an additional number here does not change where the vertex is. The vertex is still at 0C. Graph 4x squared plus 1. Compare the graph to the parent function, f of x equals x squared. So, multiplying by a number, do you remember from our previous lesson? Multiplying by a number gives us a vertical stretch. When that number is bigger than 1, it's a vertical stretch. If this number was between 0 and 1, then it would be a vertical shrink. And then plus 1 is going to make our graph shift which way? 1? Yes, up. Good. So the graph shifts up 1 and has a vertical stretch by 4. So now we make our table. Our vertex is at 0, 1. This is our C value. It's at 0C, 0, 1. 0, 1. Pick lots of x's, put them into the equation one at a time. Remember to do exponents, then we'll multiply, then we'll add. So negative 2 squared is 4. 4 times 4 is 16, plus 1 is 17. You put those x's in each one at a time to find the y's on your own, if you're not already given them, and then make your graph. All right. I went ahead and made my graph, counting by 1, so my negative 217 and positive 217 are off the graph, but I have these 3 points on my graph, negative 1, 5, 0, 1, and positive 1, 5. And that allowed me to draw my parabola accurately. Notice the vertex is at 0, 1. And that's number 2. Number 3. This time, our f of x is not the parent function x squared. F of x equals negative 0.5 x squared plus 2, and g of x is whatever f of x is minus 7. Describe the transformation from the graph of f to the graph of g. Then graph f and g in the same coordinate plane. So, subtracting 7 from a function, which direction is that going to shift 7 units? Minus 7 is going to go which way? Down. Yes, it's going to go down. So g of x is shifted down 7 units from f of x. So if we make a table, we use negative 4, negative 2, 0, 2, 4. You can pick any x's you want. But because we're going to multiply them by 0.5, negative 0.5, which is essentially negative 1/2. If we pick numbers that are multiples of 2, our decimals fractions go away. So we do that, square it, multiply it by negative 0.5, and add 2. And do that 5 times, we get these numbers. And then for g of x, all we have to do is subtract 7 from these f of x numbers, because that was the y value. F of x is the y value for f of x, and then these numbers are the y value for the g of x function when we go to make our graph. So we just subtract 7, subtract 7, subtract 7, and make our graph. I copied the graph in for us. The main thing I wanted to do was focus on the fact that it's going to go down. Oh, they're counting by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 7. It went down 7 units, just like we said it would. To write an equation that represents g in terms of x. So they told us g of x is f of x minus 7. What we have to do is to put in this f of x function, negative 0.5 x squared plus 2 in place of this, and then minus 7, and simplify it. Can you do that? Here I put in the f of x function, substituted it in. So that is equal to this. We can let go of the parentheses. There's nothing to be multiplied. And then plus 2 minus 7, combine like terms. What's plus 2 minus 7 give you? Minus 5. So g of x equals negative 0.5 x squared minus 5. And that's example 3. Here's some more examples to give a try to. Just want you to compare. You're comparing them to x squared. What does the 2 do? What does the minus 5 do? This next one has 3 transformations. The negative does something to the graph, and then multiplying by 1/4 and adding 4. There's 3 things we have to do. So this is putting together information we learned in lesson 8.1 and in 8.2. Okay, for number 3, we had a vertical stretch by 2 and a vertical translation down 5 units. That's number 3. Okay, for number 4, what does the negative do? It flips it over. What's the other word for flip? Reflection. Reflection over x-axis in this case. Eventually we'll learn how to reflect over the y-axis. What else? Multiplying by 1/4 doesn't make it bigger, so it's not a stretch. What's the opposite of a stretch in this case? A shrink. So we get a vertical shrink by 1/4. And what does the plus 4 do? Which direction? It's a plus 4. Up. Good. Up 4. All right, now what about number 5? Let f of x equal 3x squared minus 1 and g of x equal f of x plus 3. Describe the transformation. We're not going to graph. Describe the transformation from the graph of f to the graph of g. So from f to g, we have to add 3. What does adding 3 do? Okay, it's going to move it up. So that's a vertical translation. Up 3 units. Vertical translation up 3. And B, write an equation that represents g in terms of x. So put in your function for the f of x and then add 3 and combine like terms. So f of x is 3x squared minus 1. That's the f of x part. And then add 3. Simplify. And this is what g of x equals. This is our g of x function. Okay, multiplying by a number gives you a vertical stretch or shrink. When you multiply x squared by a number, if you add or subtract a number, that is a vertical translation, up or down. If we multiply x squared by a negative, that gives us a reflection over the x-axis. That's the only one of those we saw today, but we had some of those in a previous lesson. Writing prompt. The graph of y equals negative 4x squared plus 12 is, tell me everything you know about it. What's that U-shaped curve called? Okay, the graph is a parabola. It flipped over, so which way does it open, up or down? Down. And then the transformations to y equals x squared. What are those transformations? We have a negative. What does a negative do? What does the times 4 do? How about the plus 12? Plus 12, which way? Up. Good. Look at all those things we know without even making the graph. We know that all of these things are true. All right, good job. Now we're ready for Big Ideas Assignment 8.2. Have a great day. Thanks for watching.